Okay, I'm back. So, day 7, 8, 9, I don't know. I'll have to either splice this in later and then wear the same shirt and say day 9. Oh, my haircut will be different. Get my haircut next week. Anyway, oh, there goes the phone. I'm actually doing this in my old Samsung workhorse, which also will be replaced soon. It seems to still work. Hope you can hear me. Anyway, so I'm going to do the evolution of a scene slash AI, or Jim's introduction to AI. You know, Pandora's box has been opened. The end of a first act, of course, is a plot point. You know, it's the old Sid Field school of structure. You know, basically, the writer's journey, the hero's journey. You know, anybody. You know, Michael Hogan, the percentage, 25% of the way through the film. It's always the same thing. It's, you know, variations, different terminology for the same thing. The plot point is basically something massive happens at the end of Act 1, 30 pages, 30 minutes into your movie, 30 pages into your screenplay, approximately, probably a little less, where your main character, your hero or heroine, is thrust into, you know, a special world, the place that they don't know nothing about. They don't want to be there. You know, Thelma definitely does not want to be a murderer, for example, right? In Thelma and Louise. So, you know, in Sparkle, it was, you know, it was at first, you know, trying to, you know, figure out that whole writer's journey or hero's journey rather was, you know, it's always fun, always interesting. And you don't necessarily need to use it. I prefer to use it just because it's kind of a rhythmic thing. And, you know, I'm all over the place. I have so much material usually, and kind of helps me put it together. And so anyway, for this particular story, you know, I figured the big change would be when this gentleman Mess decides to leave his job as a teacher and embark on the world of being a sparkling wine maker. He gives up everything basically out of the blue, right? Not sort of out of the blue. And it's a big moment. It's a huge in his life. That's the whole thing. You know, the first plot point in your character's life is huge. It's got to mean a whole lot to them. What's that David Lynch movie where he drives a little, you know, garden tractor across the country, for example? You know, he decides to go, you know, something like that. You know, it's a big deal for Mass when he actually, you know, moves his wine operation out of his garage and leaves his, you know, decent paying teaching job behind to take a risk. But anyway, so after this scene, which again I haven't discussed yet, and again my plan is to go through every scene, how these scenes evolved, and why they matter and what they mean, just to show you how, you know, a screenwriter how screenwriter works and how screenwriting or screenplays evolve. So after this, you know, big moment, I have to, you know, go somewhere else, obviously, into Act 2. I have to begin Act 2. And, you know, I looked at the treatment, what I'd written, and I pretty much agreed which the next scene would be, because pretty much the whole thing is in the treatment. And in that, it was that basically Mass at his workplace has been getting in trouble. So, where there was a teacher. And so even though the plot point, the first act is when he decides, you know, to take on this wine thing. It's kind of a 1-2 punch, because he decides with his friends, at his friends' urging, to say, okay, we're going to go for it. We're going to go try to, you know, make this wonderful wine a business and go to and sell it to Geranium, or, you know, the #1 restaurant on the planet to begin with. And so logically, he also has to, you know, something has to still happen to his job. It can't happen at the same time they decide. So the very next morning, I mean, it's just cut, boom, smash cut. He's back in the principal's office, which he's been in several times now, because he keeps getting in trouble for, you know, being the mad scientist that he is. Some unusual things that he does with his students in his teaching processes that, you know, causes his principal, you know, to be concerned, right? And the previous one was that, and again, I'm sure I'll be talking about these previously, so this is redundant, but each time it's comedy in threes, by the way. You know, that means there's something about comedy in threes that works. So if you do it 3 times, it's funny. 4 times is too much. 2 times is not enough. But this is the 3rd time where he goes into the principal's office, and the whole setup is that he is facing the principal. So he comes in, the principal's looking at him behind his desk, and Mass is standing looking out. I mean, looking at the principal, but behind him is the principal's window, which is, you know, into the courtyard of the school. And each time Mass's students are, you know, appear in the background doing whatever naughty thing they're not supposed to be doing, in conjunction or as a result of whatever Mass had been teaching them in class. Like the first time, I think they were making alcohol, not to drink, but they drank it anyway. And the one for this particular scene was it was a super glue experiment. So in the previous scene, number 2 of the comedy in threes, the kids were walking by as Mass was getting reprimanded by the principal. The kids were walking by outside, and they were like holding trays of stuff from the dining hall upside down, like, you know, glasses and plates were glued to the trays. I think there was some sneakers or something glued to a flagpole right behind the principal's office. And then, you know, of course, some kid went by with his fingers like glued together like this, you know, was like, oh, trying to get them apart, something like that. And Mass is watching all this going, oh no, you know, and the principal doesn't see this because he's facing Mass, right? And so that was the previous scene. So now he's in there getting reprimanded about the super glue. It's, you know, 10 pages later at least, because of course he got busted. But he's getting reprimanded about this, you know, teaching the super glue incident, and not because the kids were playing around outside, but because one of the kids had pretended to sniff glue and had gotten super glue into his nose, which of course, you know, made his nostrils contract and they were stuck together, and he freaked out, and his parents had brought him to the hospital, according to the principal, and they brought him to the hospital where he had to dip his face into a warm solution, like a white porcelain bowl, a big bowl full of warm water, basically, or, you know, heated water with salt or saline solution or something in it. I just made it up. I'm not a doctor, so, you know, the 2% of the doctors out there will say this is bullshit, but that's what I made up. It sounds pretty real. And so he has to stick his face in there to dissolve the glue somehow. But so my visual was, you know, just how the principal describes it. You know, he had to use a snorkel. I mean, he had, you know, like a snorkel for breathing when you're scuba diving or snorkeling. So he had to have a snorkel in his mouth. His nostrils are stuck together. His parents are sobbing. The doctor and nurse are there as he puts his head into the saline solution. And as the principal noted, his parents were, you know, super concerned he'd have a nasal speech impediment for the rest of his life. You know, talk like this for the rest of his life because he can't, you know, his nose doesn't work. It was all in like a few words. That's the, you know, beauty of the efficiency of screenwriting if you can do it well. But yeah, it was definitely as dying not to have a cutaway. And I don't like, you know, I've always said that in class, especially, I don't like, if I can help it, to use cutaways, dream sequences, voiceovers, anything that takes your audience out of the story or out of the movie. You know, a reminder that, hey, you're the audience. And also, it's, you know, I used to say it's a cheap way out. You know, you're providing information or exposition, you know, because you can't figure out how else to do it. So you do it with a voiceover, and then this happened, or, you know, you have a dream sequence or whatever, or a flashback, another one. But actually, sometimes, you know, I've matured, and sometimes they work. You know, American Beauty, the beginning, voiceover, you know, it works. So I haven't decided yet. I think I'll actually write this. Well, I actually did write it. Now that I think about it, but I think I'll put it into the screenplay for now, and it'll probably be cut out as a darling. But it's actually a quick cutaway to the visual, just because I think it's so hilarious. So I think the audience would fall on the floor laughing if they saw it. But this visual of this kid literally in, you know, the emergency room with, you know, a doctor and 2 nurses as the nurse, and he's a snorkel in his mouth, and his nose is like this, and he's kind of like the bully, you know, because he's the tough kid, or one of the tougher kids in class. He's the one who's pretending to snort glue, and he pushes his head, you know, the nurse slowly pushes his head into the water as he's breathing through the snorkel and whimpering. Bah! Anyway, I think I'll write it in there as a possibility, but it'll probably not make it. But the AI aspect, this is unbelievable. I wrote what I just said into AI, or into Google Flow, whatever. And I'm gonna actually put it in. So, you know, whenever this appears, go to the, you know, wherever I put, I'll just say down there, click, and you can watch this. It's unbelievable with a real kid. And believe me, I think I did 12 of them because it wasn't doing everything I wanted exactly initially. So I'll put at least one, maybe two in. But now I get this chubby little kid with a snorkel and he's whimpering. His parents are sobbing in the background. It's all there and they're real. They're not, it's not Avatar or, again, Ronaldo and FIFA. It's a real bully, chubby little kid just having to stick his face into a bowl of water with a snorkel. And so yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, I could almost put the whole movie together myself just playing with AI. It's insane. But the main thing is the calling card aspect. Oh my God, you know, as my good buddy Ian Harlan always would say about, you know, make a short film as a calling card for your bigger film, you know, so Hollywood will buy it or someone will produce it. But cripes, I mean, just that one little sequence. If I could send in my screenplay with that one little sequence, and I've done it for almost every scene now, I've been playing around with different things as well. But it's working for all of them. It's insane. I mean, literally, I can do a summary, a visual summary, and it even has dialogue, and they're speaking perfect English and not like robotic English. So, I mean, I know that the only drawback so far is you can't keep the same characters. So it's not like I can have Mass with his beard and, you know, whoever's going to be playing Mass running around, at least in this program. We're not there yet. But I'm pretty sure I'll be able to do it with Humphrey Bogart or somebody else pretty soon. But I just didn't think we were there yet. But we're definitely there, at least for 10-second blurbs, which is enough to actually give the essence of a story if you're like trying to pitch it. You know, so imagine, like, literally, as you watch, it may be by the time I'm done with this YouTube channel, you'll be experiencing this, or you will be, because I'll be talking about it and pointing down. In fact, that's what I think I'll do, is I'll you know, refer back to this actual, you know, initial version video of where I learned about AI, because that's why you're going to be seeing all these little, I guess, Google Flow AI videos, depictions of what it could and should look like, right? But the AI aspect, and I'm gonna actually put it in, I'll just say down there, click, and you can watch this. It's unbelievable with a real kid. So I'll put at least one, maybe two in. But now I get this chubby little kid with a snorkel and he's whimpering. His parents are sobbing in the background. It's all there.
Just take a deep breath. You can do this.
It's all right. Just breathe. It's okay. You're doing so good.